Warning, F-bombs are armed and may be dropped. Okay, I'm going to be using this as a stand-in for a submachine gun because it is a rifle and it fires pistol cartridges. It is semi-auto only, but you're just going to have to work with me here. Why do I say that you should not be, as a general rule, given or be allowed to just own any rifle you want, any gun you want? Why can you not have an automatic rifle, a submachine gun? Ugh, right? Okay. You're fighting, and even if it's legitimate, you ran and you got this from your car because there's a shooter at Kroger, and you line up, okay, bang 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 bang. You just put 5 rounds down range. So far, so good, right? Until you shoot 4 other people, or 5 other people, or a dozen other people that you had no intention of shooting. They didn't do anything. They're the victims. Maybe one of them's injured. It's trying to crawl away, and you just made their day worse. I get the idea of wanting to have superior firepower to a terrorist. I also get the ex-terrorist person who just shot up Kroger may very well have an automatic weapon of his own, right? A home built, an illegally modified, a million other things that he probably will have. You don't have the right to shoot 5 other people and the one threat, right? It's that simple. Yes, I know this puts you at potentially a firepower disadvantage to our shooter, our hypothetical shooter, especially in a situation like Pulse nightclub, where the guy had an automatic weapon, or at least that's the report that's being given out, and had even the cops outgunned for a while. You still don't get the right to shoot up everybody else just to get the one guy, right? If your world is so dangerous that you legitimately need to walk around with an automatic weapon, you need to relocate. This place is too dangerous for anybody. The Vikings got that message when they were getting their asses handed to them in Vinland. They went back all the way to Sweden to get away from the hordes of Indians that were harassing them and making their lives very, very difficult. Sorry, Doc, I got it wrong. Oh, anyway, how do I put this? You can't defend yourself with an M16 against a lone shooter or even a pair of shooters. What you can do is endanger a whole lot of lives needlessly. All right. During today's live stream, it was brought up that allowing the people to have automatic weapons would influence a potential invasion in a way that an invader hadn't really wanted. And there's some truth to this statement. It would force them to rethink their plans. Wouldn't stop them necessarily, but it would force them to rethink their plans. Um, it would force them to use a whole lot more force than they had ever intended to. And for an average invasion, it would become cost prohibitive. They would have to literally massacre everybody in a city, and not just massacre them, they'd have to use artillery in place of infantry. They would have to just shell the city out of existence, which destroys the very thing that they wanted to take. Okay, at that point, you're talking about a war of genocide anyway. They're just going to bomb the city off the face of the earth to begin with. They were going to at that point anyways, and they'd probably just nuke it, get it over with. Um, Anything less than that, yeah, it would probably end their plans in the planning stage. That said, it's not practical. And no, you don't have the right to shoot 5 other people to get the one guy that you were aiming for. Now, think about this as if you were a police officer. You have one suspect, you know who the suspect is, and he's just run into a school full of kids, right? Do you have the right to shoot up the entire school to get this one suspect? Even if your chances of hitting the kids is 1 in 100, do you have the right to shoot up the whole damn school to get this guy? I don't think anybody would say yes. That is why police officers generally don't have automatic weapons now. Dirty little secret of law enforcement is that from 1995, I believe it was 1995, to somewhere around 2005, a lot of cops were running around with modified M16s. These were generally National Guard hand-me-downs, and they were modified so that they could still engage that burst fire, but they had to hold the lever down to engage the burst fire mode. It had a spring that would force it back up into semi-auto mode when you held that down and then let go of it. Not every officer, like 75% were pinned to semi-auto only. SWAT teams did not have the modification either way. Patrol sergeants, sometimes lieutenants, very often, and captains always had the modified M16, so they could go automatic or burst, excuse me, if they had to. Those have gone away now, at least for patrol officers. You'll still see them in some very special security detail units, like U.S. Capitol and state capitals. Even they don't get to go automatic just because that's easier. And let me put this in a more pointed context. 99% of you out there, I would not trust with an automatic weapon. This, perfectly fine. A uh, a semi-auto only Mac 10 or Tech 9, no problem. Semi-automatic anything, you're good to go. With the grace of God, go. Don't let me stop you. Don't let me slow you down. And by the way, if you need a couple of spare rounds, I might be able to help you. Automatic anything? No. I do not trust your ability to only shoot the guy you're aiming for. To only to only kill the threats. I don't trust your judgment and your shot placement enough to let you end one threat because you'll become the new threat. That's the reality of the world. The same guy who says you should be fined $2,000 for walking out of your house without a gun says, and oh, by the way, I don't trust you to spray and pray. You just don't have that skill level. I'm going to lean into this a little bit. I don't have that skill level. Papa Carey, combat veteran, he doesn't have that skill level. About 75% of other combat veterans in a civilian environment don't have that skill level. That 25% that I would be comfortable turning them loose with automatic weapons, at least half of them were the sort of people who get on planes and they don't know where they're going until they're halfway there. That's the truth. That's actually not true. They know where they're going long before they got on that plane, but they don't talk about it until 20 years, 25 years later. Yeah, I'm talking about the Delta Force, the Navy SEAL, the Army Rangers, Marine Recon, that sort, right? Coast Guard didn't even have a version of that until 2010, I think it was, 2011. That only lasted a couple of years when a half dozen coasties volunteered for SEALs. And that worked out for a couple of years. And then somebody said, yeah, but we don't want to do it anymore. So that's okay. This is not a critique of you as a person or your morality or your lack of, right? It's a critique of your basic physical capability, right? You can't do 1 million push ups and you can't put a 5 round burst in a 3 foot box at 50 feet, 10 feet, 2 feet maybe. You don't have that skill level. I don't have that skill level. Papa Carey doesn't have that skill level. That's the truth. Anything below that, praise to God, go. And don't start sinning now just because I turned you loose. Keep calm and mandatory carry on.